Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Wednesday, towards the end of March, and I know what you're thinking. You're probably at the end of your wits right now with what's going on, and believe me, I know. I'm here in New York, and New York is more or less the epicenter in the United States. I always told you that New York is not the place to be. You know, it's funny, they glorify it in some news, and you say, oh, New York, and Broadway. I'm telling you, ever since I was born, I hated the city. I always said, I even asked my parents one time. I went upstate and I visited my grandmother's sister upstate. They lived in Saugerties, New York, and I remember must have been about 8 years old when I went up there, and I'll never forget thinking to myself, oh, I can't believe how nice it is up here. Why would anybody want to live on top of each other? And after that, it changed my life. And what's going on, believe it or not, this might be actually a blessing in disguise. It's going to change everything as we know it. This episode we're going through. For example, in 1977, I don't know if you remember, we had a blackout here in New York City, and it was only a couple days without power. But boy, did that change everything for the rest of our lives, because you didn't take electricity for granted. And there's a lot of things now with this virus that's going to change, and it might be a good thing. It might be a good thing, believe it or not, because I'm sure that flu cases will go down now, because years from now, because people are a lot more conscious about cleaning their hand, washing their hands, social distancing, keeping a little space between people. But in New York, forget it. New York, you're on a subway system, and it's like, you're breathing down each other's neck, and I hate this place. Anyway, want to talk a couple things today. I don't know if you've been catching up on there's some good movies. They've been putting some good movies on, like Turner Classic Movies. I'm a big movie fan over here, and every year, believe it or not, sometimes I'll watch the same movie year after year. 1 year at certain times I want to see that movie, and I've been having the urge to watch a movie called Fantastic Voyage. You ever see that movie? Now, when I was a kid growing up, this was 1966, the movie came out. Had Stephen Boyd in it and Raquel Welch, and it was basically a movie about a scientist that gets attempted assassination, and they're trying to save his life, and they shrink down this submarine, like the Proteus. You remember that? And they shrink down this thing, and they inject it into this guy's body, and they got to go and kind of save his life. And it's I know the movie's it's one of them love it or hate it movie. When I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing ever, and they wanted to remake that movie. They never did, though. But some crazy special effects back then, but by now, with the computer generated effects, it's nothing like they were. But back then, all those effects were kind of models and things like that. It was pretty interesting. A lot of psychedelic colors, a lot of great movie, if ever you get a chance to see it, called Fantastic Voyage. One of Raquel Welch's first movies where, she was just a regular woman. They weren't really, they weren't focusing on her looks and things like that. So let's see. Today we have a couple things to do. But one project, I felt bad the other day. I said it's going to be a really long time before I do another pipe wrench. But there's one wrench that has to get done. It's been sitting upstairs on my thing, and it's a Trimo wrench. And let's talk about that. Now, in the late 1800s, pipe wrenches were pretty much all the rage. And 1870, Stilton invents the pipe wrench, and then other companies start off. But by 1890, two guys invent the Tremont. You can see here, Tremont Manufacturing Company, and it was out of Roxbury, Massachusetts. Okay, and they made these type wrenches, and there's something called like a classic look to some tools, and even if you're not a pipe wrench fan, which basically I'm not, you have to love the looks of this wrench. I mean, it's just such a nice design, right? And I always liked it, and even as before I got into tool restorations, I always said, well, that's a sharp looking wrench. And this is a restoration person's you love this kind of wrench, because it's such an easy or fun restoration to do, unlike where you have a lot of different components. There's only 3 major parts, 4 if you want to count this little washer, and there's a lot of fun aspects to doing this. A flat area here, and boy, there's so many things you could do as far as paint schemes and things like that. So this is a fun wrench to do. If you're just getting into restoration, I would suggest picking one of these up, because it's very hard to screw these up. You could do it with any kind of tools, and there's so many ways we could do it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take it down. There's some paint in here because the handle was painted black. We're going to use some paint stripper, get all that out of there. And then after a post-wire evaluation, we'll see what we're going to do with this. Here we are at our post-wire brush evaluation, and there were some really interesting things you find out when you're doing a wrench like this. First of all, look at the terrible, terrible grind job they did from the factory. That's from the factory. See that grind there? So some guy was maybe intoxicated or something. Look at that. You're just supposed to take off the forge marks. This guy dipped into the wheel a little bit, maybe because there's a little imperfection. He was trying to grind it out, but just horrible, right? So that's a rough part, and that's from the factory. That's discouraging. Look at this. I found this pretty interesting. Look at the top jaw grind. See that? That's again from the factory. A lot of times jaws get mangled from nuts and stuff. That was from the factory. You ever see a grind like that before? Very interesting, right? And look, not flat, so Trimo, they were known to have some issues with their employee. If you look back at the history on Tremont, a lot of times they were saying when they were trying to unionize and get 8-hour days, Eli was one of the owners of the company, was pushing for 10 hours. He was saying, I'm just going to have to pay him less to do more. It was a crazy thing. So maybe these guys were just not so happy. You can always tell a tool when guys were happy with their job. You could tell because they took that extra time to do it. But when they're being rushed through, I'm sure these guys were just throwing it. There wasn't much heart put in a lot of in tools. You could see sometimes. Now you could see here it's got, again, these recesses, really nice area to add paint. A couple dents here, we could probably address that. The bottom jaw doesn't have as crazy of a grind as the top. You can see here this wrench, the patent date on it was 12/19/1911, December 19, 1911. Has a very nice casting on there, forging rather. But on this little part here, you can see it says 1927. Yeah, you see that, patented January 4th, 1927. So this wrench was made after 27. The company went out of business 54, so it could be anywhere between them. So let's see what we can do as far as saving some of the handle and whatnot and getting this nice and cleaned up. You can see the sanding belt marks. It was just a grind on both sides. One last thing before we get to the belt sander. Look at how they ground that off there. It's I got to tell you, I always like Trimo wrenches, but their fit and finish was just god-awful. If this came out of China today, you would expect something like this, but come on, this is an American company. This is embarrassing. Very embarrassing. Oh, we have a little unexpected dake action here. As I was looking over the wrench, if you look down there, you can see there's a little bend to it. You see it? And I'll flip it around so you can see. Just at the end there, there's just a little bend. And we're going to put that here in the dake. I'll show you the setup and just straighten it out. Okay, here's the setup now. You can see the bend is right here. Right over here is the bend, right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this end on a piece of wood. And then we're going to put a piece of steel here, just so that because of we don't want to damage the wrench when we're pushing it down. And then we'll apply a little bit of pressure. And again, you'll hear the wood cracking a little bit before it starts to go down. But then you get down here just a little bit. We only have not even a quarter of a ton, just to see where we're at when we're bending it. And okay, we have to go more, obviously, but that's how you got to sneak up on it. Some metals are stronger than others, and it's always important that before you go nuts, putting a lot of pressure, just see where you're at, Here we have just about 1/4 of a ton. Check it one more time, and there we go. There we go. Looking much better here. You can see here, much better, and we'll tweak it out, make sure it's perfectly straight. Okay, we're straight off the dake now. You can see that's perfectly straight, but you see this angle here? This is crooked, you know, and this is again from the factory. Look at that. You see that? I'll tell you something. I'm not totally not impressed with the craftsmanship of this wrench. Let's fix it up. Well, here we are after our sanding, grinding, and buffing, and you can see here, look at this. Look at that, got rid of all the mistakes and all the casting marks, and isn't that beautiful? And, you know, and especially the belly here, this was all painted, and look at that now, huh? And the top here, did up here, and you could see the contrast between the original casting and the grind here, and look at the back here. So everything's coming very nice. Now what I have to do is we're going to scrub this with Comet, all the insides, the outsides, and Comet all over here, and then Trimo in here, and then we're going to add our color. We got to figure out what kind of color we're going to add, and then we'll be back. Now, you know my favorite part. Remember what this wrench looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Look how nice this one came out, huh? One thing I like to do is I always like to keep the handles unpainted because, you know, painting always gets banged up, scratched up. Paint is great for the recessed areas, as you could see here. And I painted that black and highlighted the letters by just rubbing over it lightly with paint thinner before it dried. Did the same up here with the inside here, you could see. Looks real nice. We got the big gashes out of the back fixed up. Look at the nice back here, you know, with all the angles up around here. Remember the top of the wrench? How disappointed we were with that. Look at that. That's the way it should look, right? Straightened this out. Got these even and square, and again the belly. It's just a, you know, and now look at it, operates just so nice and smooth. You know, before it was hardly, you know, it was hardly spinning because it was so tight. That's because we polished all the threads and everything too to make it nice. So and the back, obviously I always am happy to do that. But we took out over here, remember it was all mashed up and banged up, and now it's just a nice wrench to hold and handle. Little red in here, Scoutcrafter red, and that's it. So this is the Trimo from Tremont Manufacturing Company in Roxbury, Massachusetts. This was a fun little project, and you know, I was jumping the gun when I said no more pipe wrenches, because these I enjoyed. So in closing, I hope you enjoyed today's little project, and hope you have a nice day. Take care now. Bye-bye.